This is Rule 18. It's all about how do we encourage a BIM team. I'm sure we've all wanted to imagine, let's say, a digital twin scenario on a project, especially when, let's say, you have a team that's all agreed upon the standards as well as the procedures on that particular project. Remember, when you're developing standards, understand the difference between standards and the encouragement of people that are going to be using them. A standard is something we can measure. Encouragement is something you cannot measure. If you don't let people know that you're pleased with them or their accomplishments, they'll probably just wilt away or just move on to something better. People come to work for, let's say, a whole bunch of reasons. Some will even probably tell you that it's nothing to do with money. But let's say right at the top of the unspoken, unwritten rule will be do what's expected of you. They might even call it, let's say, recognition or acknowledgement, a feeling that they've done well. Some might even think it's just being needed. But how would they actually know that? They know that because you have to tell them that. I've always said the power of an enthusiastic team is a much better idea than an individual who voices their accomplishments and often their own ingrained ideas. The power that comes from that team brings all professional backgrounds together. And the power of that diversity becomes a professional or an exceptional team. And from there on, together, you can all become more enthusiastic and, let's say, build on lessons learned. This new term, BIM manager, is a new role, and it's often widely overused as well as misused. Many are still probably unsure of its full delegation or even its responsibility. Just try Googling BIM manager and you'll see the roles and responsibilities differ from website to website or even from LinkedIn profile to profile. And that simply means that the world is now your oyster as a manager. Nothing's cast in stone. Well, yet. If you want to build a great team, then do it well. And don't be sculptured, let's say, by others. I think the question could also be asked then, why are more BIM managers not reinventing themselves? Because it takes self-confidence. It takes grit. You have to be feeling pretty assured about yourself before you start dishing your accomplishments out on, let's say, social media platforms. But that will all be, let's say, in vain if you doubted yourself. Then guess what's going to happen? The team will doubt you too. It takes nothing except courage to say to a team, come on guys, we can do this together. Based on all our experience put together, that makes us an exceptional team. At the end of the day, remember, it's just a job. The more responsibility you give people, the more you trust them. The more you praise them, the more you encourage them. And the more they will probably give back to you in return. Remember, praise costs nothing, but it just brings back loads. And again, encouragement is a given on any endeavor. And those who I think who have kids will know exactly what I'm talking about. I remember a similar position where I worked with a large corporate back in 2001, delivering Microsoft Project 2000 training to various large parastatals here in South Africa. And it was new software. It was new to many, and this role called a Microsoft Project Manager was not even found on Google back then. In fact, Google was only really founded back in 1998. And encouraging a team to use new technology and transferring those traditional methods is probably one of the toughest rules any manager will be delegated. And if you really want to throw a project team into a state of vapor, tell them that they've got to stop using the old systems that they're working on and only use the new systems. All the training in the world will not convert that team. I can promise you that. And all the encouragement that you throw at them will not necessarily work either. For me, the secret was quite simple. And I found that working in that situation, it was easier to speak to those individuals who were, let's say, discouraged by this new way of working. And then I shared those concerns with the other team players and allowed them to battle out those challenges and let the team work it out together. As a manager, you need to also be there to be a mentor. You need to be there to encourage, and you don't always have to try and be the expert. Mediate and then encourage. And that won't also either be an overnight solution either. Remember, you're dealing with people here, and emotions will always run high depending on the project environment. And especially when you're dealing with those who have a passion for what they're doing, regardless of the project they're working on. Now, Rachel Sudlow is our mentor for this rule, and she has experience working with a tier 1 contractor driving industry-wide transformation. She has had her challenges, and her primary expertise has always been on focusing on the operational process of improvement and utilizing, let's say, these digital tools while enabling or trying to enable change.
Hi, my name's Rachel Sudlow, and I'm here today because I've been asked to come and share some of my expertise based on my experience over the last couple of years working on major infrastructure and building schemes, driving change in the area of BIM implementation, and helping people to enjoy the benefits of BIM delivery for their project. So the key to engagement is connecting people's work digitally, and that requires better communication from organisation to organisation within our industry. It's a very diverse industry, from manufacture to supply to operational and maintenance of an asset throughout its whole life cycle. Different size companies with different objectives, companies with different processes, companies with different systems that need integrating in order to allow them to process and manage and analyse data, project information in a certain way. So a pretty large scale change programme that needs to be structured in order to be successful across our industry. So I think encouragement of the BIM team, encouragement of the design parties working digitally is part of a bigger puzzle. So, that's part of BIM adoption in general, and encouraging the industry to really get on board with sharing information, linking their systems up, talking about the way they manage and analyse data and way they operate in order for us to understand how we can link that together through the BIM model. The reality is that BIM has not commonly been used by all of these project delivery managers at one time, and rather what we've seen is a dipping in and out of BIM and digital technology when a specific task needs to be performed or something needs to be checked, rather than day-to-day collaborative working in the model. So for example, if the BIM model is just a visual representation of the asset, that's great, but it also has to have the useful project information stored behind that, the actual project data that's used day-to-day to manage the project. And if that's not there, it's very difficult to encourage clients to adopt BIM to its full capacity. So in terms of engaging the BIM team, there's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation, because we've got to demonstrate the benefits of using BIM to its full capacity in order to engage all of the delivery team to work in the model, for then the BIM team to feel encouraged and feel integrated in the project management process. I think there's a growing realisation in the industry today that we do need to work more collaboratively and more logically in one central place where data can have a central repository. Now, there's a lot of innovation going on. There's a lot of things happening at the moment, which is really exciting. So in some ways, linking those innovations together is the key, making sure that everybody can access that central repository, access that place, and link the data back to their different systems in order to make that work within their own business operations. So BIM adoption, in order to encourage the BIM team, is a change programme. It's a change programme like any other, and it needs to be structured. If it's not structured, it will fail. So there is definitely an idea that we need to structure that change and to help people through that change as an industry, not as individual organisations. So I think the expectation on people's working practices is really important, because that essentially is what will drive BIM adoption. If people want to start to work digitally, want to do their day-to-day jobs digitally because they want to perform them better, because they want to upskill themselves, because they want to work more collaboratively, whatever that reason is, that needs to be structured and organised in terms of the whole industry. So encouragement of the BIM team, of the BIM manager, is all about the engagement of the other construction professionals involved in the delivery of that project, how engaged they are with using the BIM model to manage, operate, facilitate, deliver that project. So there are push and pull factors really at play for the adoption of BIM. You've got a growing base of evidence that's showing that working digitally and working in the BIM model is much more effective and efficient. So that evidence base is growing. Clients are demanding the use of BIM more, which is encouraging BIM, encouraging the BIM team to be able to get more involved, do more, be a bigger part of that project delivery. But then you've also got the other side of the coin, where delivery partners themselves are seeing it as a more efficient and collaborative way of working, whether it's contractually stated or not, whether it's contractual requirement or not. And I think that's absolutely key. You know, the construction industry for a long time has delivered what it's been asked to deliver, whereas I think now there's definitely a shift of seeing, well, actually this is a better way of working anyway, even if it's not potentially asked for. You know, this is something that we have to do because it's just a much better way of working. And I think there's a much bigger acceptance of that now, because the data is showing us that, because the data is evidencing that. We're getting better at collecting data and analysing it. So there have been a lot of encouraging changes around the BIM environment that we've seen in the industry. A lot of companies now are at the vanguard of that digital change and really pushing the boundaries of what's possible. We've seen some absolutely fantastic innovations that are starting to link systems together. Different companies offering different API services and different companies coming together, working together, joining their innovations to set up more consistency in the way we work. So that's great, and it's all really, really encouraging. I think that there's further to go, but definitely encouraging things are now being seen. So as a quick wrap up for encouraging your BIM team, I think looking outside of your organisation is key. I think we can get very focused on what we do and how we operate and how we work. But I think looking outside, looking at how other organisations we work with work, where their data comes from and how we can exchange data, and not be afraid to share information, not be afraid to work in a collaborative space, to establish common data environments, because as soon as we start to do that and people start to work in one place, that gives us a huge opportunity with BIM.